Morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this world, you beautiful human. Right, now I'm out for a walk and a thought's crossed my mind, and basically I'm training a muscle group, sort of right now, and I believe it could be one of the most neglected muscle groups in the world today. If you can see, I'm sort of training it right now. Don't know if you can see that. But it is, if you have not guessed already, it is the eyes. And I believe that they are, well, they're said to be the doorway to the soul. So when you are talking to people, and it's amazing how uncomfortable it can feel and how little people actually do look people in the eye when they're talking to them. And this can sort of stem from, I sort of relate to iridology. If you give it a Google, or I'll put the little eyes up here so you can have a look. Basically different parts of the eyes, like in Chinese medicine, the meridians, that sort of thing, they directly represent or connect to different parts of the body. And it's funny how the pupil right in the center, that's connected to the stomach. And if you take that as metaphor or sort of any connection you can think of, that's sort of like whatever we look at is what we digest, is what we take into our reality, what we basically assimilate into our own subconscious. So we have to be very careful about what we are actually looking at and where our focus is and what we are attending to. So, I mean, along those lines, I do believe that a massive sort of problem with the world at the moment is such a disconnection with everyone. Everyone is so focused on looking at the screen, sort of on the TV or on their phones. I mean, me making this video again, it's sort of me staring at the screen, trying to get you not to look at the screen, which is interesting, isn't it? But yeah, it's the focus of our eyes and our intent that can be so important. So, using this to our advantage, we can use that to make sure we are focusing on the right thing. One of the main things, or probably the biggest tool to use here, is when you're with people, just make sure you look at them in the eye. It's amazing how uncomfortable it can make you feel, because I mean, I think a lot of us are not used to it, and I mean, when you look into someone's eye, you sort of, I don't know, you just connect with them on a much higher level. And maybe that's why it makes us so uncomfortable, because we're not used to that. We don't want other people to see what's inside, or what the thoughts are going inside our head. So yeah, I mean, that could be a sort of reason why. But I think, yeah, the main thing in this world where our focus is so much on TV screens, on our phones, I mean, our actual depth perception is actually so short-sighted, I guess, at the moment. It's like we're inside most of the time of the day, and we're looking at our phones, where everything we're looking at is basically within arm's reach. I mean, the furthest you're going to look is like sort of the room wall, and you're probably not going to look there for very long. So with that, it's like our eyes, they get it, just like homeostasis, or the body's ability to adapt. If your body is not needing that depth perception of looking far away at the trees over there or something similar, you're losing the need for the body to even adjust its focus, and eventually that's going to sort of inhibit any sort of adaptation. So if I'm looking at things close to me all the time, and then maybe one day of the week I need to look far away, and I think, oh my god, my eyes are not working anymore. That's because they don't need to. So a little thing I usually do, I've done before when I was a kid, I would always just sit and just look at the thing far away, focus on it, and then bring your focus right up to something very close. And I mean, the more you do this, if you just do it sort of reps of that, you really can feel the difference, and you can feel it just like any other muscle working. The more you use it, the stronger it's going to get. And I guess that's maybe something a reason why we're losing the sight. A lot of people that I see, they usually have one eye there. It's slightly, I don't know, asymmetric or sort of drooping or closing up a little bit, and I believe it's because in most of our modern day lives, we're not needing to look far ahead. We're not using the depth perception. We're not needing it at all, really, because we're looking at our phone. And I guess that's why we're losing it. And I think, in my head, I always think metaphorically as well. So if physically we're not looking ahead, we're not looking far away, maybe that can relate to our long-term goals as well. So our attention always shifting, it's always short-term, never really on the sort of goals far ahead. And maybe that is a perfect example of this instant gratification society we're living in at the moment, where if it's not here in the moment right now, then forget about it. It's not important. Or it's like fast food. If it's not there and ready straight away, I mean, you're just going to move on and just pick the next easiest thing. Whereas if you think of it in the other sense, it's if you take the time to go out and get the ingredients, plan ahead, you're sort of thinking about what you're going to eat and what you're going to cook, maybe thinking about what you need, like nutritionally, it's going to make such a better experience. That meal you're going to have is just going to be far better, far more beneficial for you. And maybe we can think of that in relation to the way we use our eyes. If we're not looking people in the eye when we're talking to them, if we're not focusing on where we're looking, it's always shifting, and we're never really focused long enough to make any progress in one direction. And maybe that's something we've got to sort of think about. It's with stop, watch a bird fly away. That was lovely. You see, I've lost my train of thought now. So another thing was, I mean, there's an experiment they did. It's where two random strangers would, and there was a lot of pairs that they did it with, would sit together and literally stare at each other in the eyes for 10 minutes. Some people would burst out crying, people would burst out laughing, people would obviously feel very uncomfortable. But it's amazing how much of a connection simply looking at someone in the eye can have. And I guarantee that as you go through the day, try and focus on who you're looking in the eye, where your eyes are focusing, what exactly are you focusing on. Because it's like when someone looks at you dead in the eye, you feel different. Their attention is directly on you. You know it's nowhere else. It's directly on you. I guess that puts a lot more pressure on you. You know you're in the spotlight. I guess it makes you feel more at need to perform, I guess. Because I know, and I'm sure you know all too well, it's like when most conversations nowadays, I mean, I'm not speaking for everyone, but a lot of the population, they'll just wait for a gap in your conversation to basically put their input in. Either they'll have already thought about what they're going to say to you while you're talking, so they're not really listening, and then all it is just a sort of egotistical response. Maybe them thinking about themselves, rather putting an answer forward for you, rather than actually listening to the words and looking in the eye and listening. And sometimes the best thing, or the thing that is needed the most, is just for someone to listen to you. Because most of the time they're not looking for an answer. And I'm sure we all know it too well, when you do give someone the answer, most of the time they won't listen. It's because they're not looking for you to fix their problem. They're just looking for you to listen, really. They just want someone to recognize they're there, recognize they're a human, recognize they're alive. And maybe that's something we can start doing a bit more, by simply just looking each other in the eye and listening to what others are saying. So on that note, look people in the eye, be happy, get outside, and get off your phone. Have a great day. Onwards!